Hi guys, welcome back to Walls Woods. It's been a few weeks since we put out a video. We've been letting Mother Nature do its work out here, and I think you'll see a lot of that come to starting to come to fruition out here. We're going to talk about today weeding the garden, which is a never-ending battle for any home gardener. And we're gonna walk you through some of what we do around here to keep the weeds out and to help promote the plant growth. But we're also just going to give you kind of an update on some of the stuff that we've got going. A lot of our plants are in bloom, and a lot of the animals have grown, and so we've been doing a lot of things out here at Walls Woods, and we're just going to show it off a little bit today. So as you can see, our green beans are coming along. Now you'll notice, well maybe you'll notice, some of the plants look bigger and bushier than others. And that is because we had kind of a weird crop come up. And a lot of the seeds didn't germinate. So after we got some of these plants up and then we had these huge bare spots, we went back in and reseeded the bare spots with new seed. And so you'll see the difference in sizes between one plant and another. It's not gonna be that big of a deal because it's actually gonna mean that we'll have beans coming on at different times, which makes harvest easier. And it also carries the harvest out over a longer period of time. So we're not inundated with so much to do all at once. And that helps both in the picking and in the canning process. So one of the ways that we've kept weeds at bay on some of these rows is by using this black plastic. And we've come in, and you've seen in my other videos where we make the holes and then plant the plants. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to still come in and weed around the plants. Now, doing this helps the plants because those weeds, little bits of grass and whatnot, steal the nutrients from the soil that your plants need to survive and to grow. So it's not really all that hard to do. You just gotta make a point of doing it, and you don't have to do it all the time. Every couple of weeks, get out and we try to have the kids pick a row, and they can go through and get it all done pretty quick. But it is important. It's also one of the tools that we use here is my trusty garden tiller to do the between the rows. Now that aerates the soil, it chops up some of the weeds, and it's good for the plants. So I'm gonna be running this guy here in just a few minutes in between the rows to get the soil turned up. So as you can see, I got these rows tilled, and it helps with weed control, and it really makes your garden look great. It turns up the soil, the plants like it, but it's also important to remember to not till too much or too often, because anytime you disrupt the soil, it will promote and lead to some amount of soil erosion. That's why a lot of farmers don't plow their fields and till their fields anymore. They do it without that process to avoid erosion and putting unnecessary dirt and whatnot into the water stream. So I don't have the benefit of all of the fancy chemicals and fancy tools that a lot of the big time farmers have, but I still am conscious of the amount of times that in a season that I will till the earth. So I probably maybe hit this one more time this summer, depending on what kind of growth we get. We're also experimenting with a couple of other ideas for keeping weeds out. But for the most part, it's a great way to maintain your garden. So just a walk down the Sugar Snap peas, and you can see, ta-da! We have blooms. These are the guys that were in our very first video. You remember how tiny they were when we planted them? And then these guys, they're taller than Zach. These guys, we started from seed. So, and they're doing fantastic. And I just love coming out here every day. It's something different with these guys. And they're kind of funny how they'll all intertwine together, and they're climbing up the trellis here. And for considering that we've never done these before, never raised Sugar Snap peas, it was kind of done on a whim because my wife loves Sugar Snap peas. So I did this for her, and they're turning out really great. I'm really excited to see what this harvest will bring. And on this row, you'll see we've got our cucumbers. And look at these. Look at these blooms. These guys are doing so good. And they are funny too, how they, look at this. Look how many times this little guy has wrapped around there. And he's climbing straight up. These cucumbers are just doing phenomenal. You see over here on this next row too. They're just really, really digging this trellis, and they're growing vertically. Some more than others. We've got a couple of these guys that are afraid of heights. You see, we've got a couple of these low growers. And then we got these guys, and this one, let's see if we can see, he's got a little baby cucumber started. Hello, fella. Now, I planted two different varieties of cucumbers, both of which are supposed to be great for pickling. We grew cucumbers last year, and we got these huge, massive cucumbers. And first of all, when you go to pickle those, they don't fit well into jars. But second of all, they didn't taste very good either. They got soggy. These cucumbers are genetically engineered to be smaller and to be crunchier and to handle that pickling process better. So I'm really excited to see how these guys turn out. And by the looks of these rows, we're gonna have a boatload of cucumbers. So before I introduce you to our tomatoes, I want to take a second to recognize something that my wife and kids have been doing during this pandemic to pass the time. We had some old bricks, and they have taken them and made little row markers out of them. And so you'll see these throughout the garden, and I think they're just really cute, and it was a good way for them to pass time, and almost like a art class here at Walls Woods. So look at these. Look at these guys. They're huge. These are the first 4 tomato plants that we put out, and I was really worried that I put them out too soon because it was still a little cold, and they got really limp and kind of weepy, and then they've just bounced back, and I've got blooms on them already. So we're gonna have tomatoes by the score. And then here's the next batch that we planted, and they're doing fantastic. Here's a little tip that I learned online. If you plant basil in between your tomatoes or around your tomatoes, it is a natural bug repellent. And I've employed a couple of these in our garden. You'll see that here, and then you'll also see it over here with our squash. We have planted marigolds in between our squash. And bugs don't like marigolds, especially the bugs that like squash, the squash bugs. And then basil is supposed to help repel bugs from your tomato plants. So we've got these tomatoes, which I all started from seed inside, that are all doing pretty well. But if you want to see something really exciting, we'll take a look over here. Well, exciting for me is this last little patch of dirt was untilled and untended to, and I wanted to make some room for jalapeno peppers that I still have in seeds in the house. And we came out here one weekend and got ready to till this ground up, and this is where we had our tomatoes planted last year. And lo and behold, we came across all of these volunteer tomato plants. And all in all, there was about 25 of them. So what we did was we dug them up, we put them in a row, and we replanted them. We've got some there, and we've got some over here. Now these are tomatoes that grew naturally as volunteers from the fallen fruit of last year's harvest. And I can't wait to see what our volunteer tomato plants are gonna end up producing. I just think it's so neat how nature works and it regenerates itself. So pretty exciting stuff, at least if you're a garden nerd like I am. So this is the runt of the litter, right?
Yes.
This is the little guy. And what's his name?
Chicken nugget.
Chicken Nugget. Appropriate. Okay. Is this the biggest one?
Mm-hmm.
What's this one?
Well, I'm debating on chicken breast or chicken tenders.
Chicken tenders sounds good. Grab a turkey.
I'm trying.
You got one?
Yep.
So look, so now you can see that the difference between the turkeys and the chickens.
These ones have really long necks.
Whoa.
This one's named Thanksgiving Dinner.
Yep. What are the other turkeys named?
Thanksgiving Dinner.
All three of them?
Yep.
Ah. What are the other chickens? We've met Chicken Nugget and we met Chicken Tenders. What are the other ones?
B-dubs.
Yeah?
I think we're gonna go for
Phila for Chick-fil-A. So they're getting big. And here we find the world's most worthless creature. Yep. We've had ducks in the past, and the ducks would dig around and eat bugs and eat grubs and stuff. These guys, they hang out up here by the chicken coop and wait to get fed. They're big and they poop. And they're funny, but they provide zero real value. And here's a Toby. Hi, Tobers. Hi, Tobers. It's pretty easy to do. It's just time consuming. But when you have slave labor.
Really? No, we're not slaves. We're free, independent people.
Oh, shut up.